Thanks for joining us for our last episode of 2024 of Battle for the Belt. We're here in Worcester, Ohio today, and Oscar and I are going to talk about some observations we had during the 2024 growing season. So, as a reminder, Battle for the Belt is really to look at which crop you should give planting priority to in the spring, corn or soybean. So, we know there's a really limited planting window in Ohio because of wet weather in the spring. And a lot of times farmers have to decide, do I plant soybeans first or do I plant corn first? So this is the second year of a 3-year study, and we're just wrapping up 2024 right now with some harvest beginning. So Osler, can you tell us maybe some observations of our Northwest Ohio location?
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Northwest Ohio this year was a little bit different to what we expected. Last year, we had good planting window. This year, in that location, we had a narrower planting window. Our first planting date didn't go into Northwest Ohio until May 16th. So that's a little bit later for us, later than what we would have hoped for. We started in May 16th, and then almost every week we had a new planting date, and we were done planting corn and soybeans on June 24th at the Northwest location. So that's the main takeaway there, delay planting window in Northwest Ohio, and I think that was also very comparable to what we heard from farmers and other people in the area.
So any predictions? What crop won in Northwest Ohio? Corn or soybean?
We already know that once we hit May, corn yields start declining a little bit faster than soybean do. So I think my prediction will be that corn yields will be, or corn planting day decision priority will be ahead this year at the Northwest location.
And I hate to agree, but I will agree with Osler. Since planting didn't start till the middle of May, I think really corn yield just goes down so quickly after the middle of May.
And that's what we saw last year.
That's what we saw last year.
So we already have results from last year at that location. Yep. Corn didn't go well after May. Soybeans also had some yield losses there, but not as marked as for corn.
Right, absolutely. So can you tell us about Worcester?
Worcester, this is home for me, so I get to see the plots in a quite regular basis. Worcester, our planting window this year, we started in April 22nd. We put our first corn and first soybeans plots on the 22nd of April, and we were done planting right around June 20th. So as you can tell, that's a bigger planting window, and our frequency was roughly almost every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, a new planting date. So we had a wider distribution there. The only note for Worcester is last year we struggled trying to get our earlier planting dates, put them in place, make them happen. This year, I think things went smoother, and we were able to plant almost as planned, where Mother Nature didn't trigger too much trouble as compared to last year. So it was a good planting window there, and so far we don't have any major concerns about our corn and soybean plots in Worcester, Ohio, and we know that that's very different to what Laura is going to discuss here in a second about Western.
Yeah, any predictions about corn or soybean in Worcester in terms of which one won?
Planting priority for Worcester, I will say probably I will go with corn. We have some prediction modeling work that is indicating or showing us, suggesting that the Northeast region in Ohio has high chances for higher corn yields relative to the normal. So I will go with that, and we will see what happens once we are done harvesting.
Sure, absolutely. And I don't think Northeast Ohio, it was certainly dry, but compared to other regions of the state, Northeast Ohio wasn't as bad.
It was not as bad, correct. I never saw leaf rolling in Worcester this year. I never did, and I did see that in other parts of the state.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll move on and talk about Western. The Western location is about 45 minutes west of Columbus, so I get to visit there quite frequently. And Osler mentioned not many problems at Northwest, not many problems at Worcester. That was not the case in Western Ohio this year. So fortunately, we had a really early planting date. We were able to plant on March 25th. This is the earliest we've done for me ever, even outside Battle for the Belt. So March 25th planting date for both corn and soybeans, which is a really cool opportunity. But we did have freezing conditions around April 22nd, so the temperatures got extremely low, and the whole above ground portion of the corn plant died. The growing point was below ground, and the corn came up and recovered from that frost. To me, it never looked quite as good, though, maybe a little bit uneven after that frost. It did come back. Soybeans, unfortunately, we lost a lot of plants because of that April 22nd frost. We ended up with stands maybe ranging between 50,000 and 80,000 plants per acre. And what happened was they just really branched out quite a bit to compensate for those plant stand losses. Early on in the year, it was extremely wet as well. So we had standing water in our fields at Western. And then, like much of the state, we pivoted to very dry conditions. And what we saw at harvest, the end of September into early October, was some pretty big harvest issues. So these soybean seeds dried down very quickly. We did see some pods open up, some pod shattering, a black fungus because of all the wet weather from Hurricane Helene to those dry soybeans. So a lot of unique conditions because of the hurricane as well. Some of the corn lodged. It was more the later planting dates, the June planting dates, but some lodging on the corn side as well. So we'll see what that means. My predictions for Western, as I'm going to say soybeans, just because that corn looked a little uneven after the frost, even though it came back to my eyes, it just didn't look quite as strong. I'm predicting the May 6th planted corn is going to do the best at Western this year. And I'm going to predict that probably the first 2 or 3 planting dates for soybeans are going to yield about the same.
Excellent. Well, good news. Harvest is started, and we will see where our predictions go. There is already harvesting happening in all the 3 locations, 3 sites. What is next? What is to come next for our audience? Please stay tuned with our work, our project. We will have winter extension programming coming up starting sometime January, February. We will have a few in-person meetings where we present and discuss the 2024 results at some of the counties around the state, as well as a webinar where we will discuss corn and soybean comparisons on this planting day project. Another thing is, at the same time that we're preparing for winter programming next year to discuss 2024 results, we are also planning on having a final year of field research on this project during 2025. As we discussed today, weather conditions have been really different, planting conditions very different depending on the sites. It's also different depending on the year. So we wanted to capture as much as possible of that temporal and also spatial variability by doing a 3-year project with 3 distinct locations in Ohio. So stay connected with us and follow us along and try to learn more about planting decisions in corn and soybeans.